This is Gotham TV Podcast, episode 100, about Gotham. Season 3, episode 21, Destiny Calling.
I'm David Mazuz, and you're listening to Gotham TV Podcast.
Welcome back, Gothamites, to this, our 100th episode. Yes, we are here talking all about Gotham Season 3, episode 21, with a fitting title, Destiny Calling. Yes, this is our 100th episode of talking and chatting and looking at, discussing, reviewing Gotham. Who would have thought back in 2014, when we started going through Gotham Central Comics, which we thought would form the basis of this series, that we would still be here 100 episodes later talking about Gotham with the experiences, the interviews, the conventions, and the friends and listeners that we've made from doing this. And speaking of friends and listeners who have been involved with us, whether it is giving some introductions to all the listeners through the opening credits of our podcast, or it's those really fantastic listeners who leave us feedback, send in their thoughts, and it really adds to the richness of the podcast.
Absolutely.
And the community that we have over on our Facebook page at Gotham TV Podcast groups. So thank you so much to everyone who has contributed in the last 100 episodes of Gotham. We can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Huge thank you to everybody. Just by the way, I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and that's our other host,
And I'm
John.
Hi.
We left that out because it's our 100th episode, so we hoped you'd know who we are. We have moved address. We've moved to a new country, which is, if you've watched us on YouTube before, you've noticed our room is slightly different this time. But the benefit of that is that in a couple of weeks' time, when Gotham starts coming out in North America on the 21st of September, we're going to be covering Gotham at the North American pace, at a little reward for us getting to 100 episodes now.
Absolutely. We're a little rough and ready this time. Doing it on the hoof, handheld, as you can see, relaxing in the armchair, or sofa, I should say, with a pipe, armchair. With a Labrador. No, hang on, that's getting a bit odd. So I think we have a few messages that we would like to play. Derek,
we
take it away.
We certainly do, yeah. And first up is a message from Drew Pow.
This is Drew Pow, Butch from Gotham. Congratulations on 100 episodes to Gotham TV Podcast. Keep up the good work, boys.
Thanks so much for that, Drew. That's really nice of you.
Absolutely.
He has been introducing our podcast for 50 episodes since we interviewed him for episode 50 of the podcast. It's so nice to him. So nice of him to send in the message to us, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We, the boys, certainly will hopefully carry on and keep up the good work with Gotham.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for the message.
Yes, we are so rough and ready that we forgot our headphones. Yes, we didn't just grow a pair of earphones. Yes, some slight bit of editing may have gone on, which is one of the wonders of podcasting, of course.
It's pretty awesome.
But yes, we have finally listened to Drew Powell's message. And we had heard it obviously previously, and it absolutely great to hear his voice and the richness that he brings. He certainly has a good richness to his voice for podcasting, and so we can't thank him enough for all the openings to Gotham TV Podcast that he's been involved with through giving his brief little opener for us those many moons ago.
Absolutely. And the 3 interviews we did with him, one for episode 50, one over at Heroes Villains Fan Fest in London that we did, and the one where I forgot to record all of his answers on the first interview that we did. Yeah, so he's done 3.
So we're keeping up a good tradition of technical snafus when
Absolutely.
it comes to all things Butch Gilzea.
Absolutely. And
Drew Pow,
yes, of course.
But thank you, Drew Pow. Thank you very much for that kind message.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Another very familiar voice for our next message from Chris over at Defenders TV Podcast,
yes,
our other podcast.
Our sister podcast.
What's up, fellow Gothamites and detectives? This is Chris from Defenders TV Podcast, and I'm just quickly leaving a quick voicemail to wish my fellow Defenders podcast hosts, but of course your Gotham hosts, a happy 100 episodes, because you cannot have Batman, you cannot have Gotham, you cannot have Jim Gordon without Derek and John, because what would be the point? Who would break down every episode to the minuscule details that is, and more importantly, should be seen by every Gotham fan? So, guys, congratulations. You've reached the 100 mark. Here's to another 100. And, of course, other Gotham fans, if you're interested, we have Defenders TV podcast over on the channel. Just pop over and listen. It's all the Marvel stuff. Come over. Come on. I'm not trying to steal you, but come. Guys, congratulations, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, a bit of cross-pollination, I think, between Marvel and DC is always good. Yeah, I've never been one for boundaries, so yes, come join us on Defenders TV podcast. And Defenders, come over to Gotham and join us on Gotham TV podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're up to about 117 episodes over there as well. So we've got a fair few episodes over there, all with Chris, one of our fellow co-hosts. Thanks so much, Chris, for sending the message. One of our favourite listeners who's been with us for the last couple of seasons, Claire, who sent us in tons of feedback, was one of the providers of one of our competition prizes for this year, and did an interview with us for DC World, has sent us in some feedback as well, sent us in some thoughts for the 100th episode.
Happy 100 episodes of Gotham TV podcast and not a wrinkle in sight. As a huge fan of Gotham, your discussions have made the show even more enjoyable. Your podcasts are an invaluable extension of the DC universe. As always, you are both fair and honest in how you review the episodes. Many thanks for reading out the feedback I have left you over the seasons. So, out of 5, I would give you both 5 Jervis Tech newspaper top hats out of 5. Many thanks. Virtual hugs to you both. Claire.
Thank you so much, Claire. Virtual hugs back, absolutely. 5 Jarvis Tech newspaper top hats out of 5. I can absolutely live with that. Loving Jarvis Tech. Thank you so much, Claire, for those kind words. It's always great to get your feedback. You say that we add stuff to the Gotham TV show in terms of what we look at and how we review, but also I think listeners leaving a voicemail, sending in an email, coming over and sharing thoughts on the Facebook group like you do really adds to the richness of how we podcast and the whole thing about Gotham. So keep it up for another 100 episodes, Claire.
It has been an absolute pleasure, obviously, with all of the listeners. Definitely great to get their feedback, and especially Claire, thank you so much for all of your thoughts. I don't think you've missed an episode this season, as far as I remember, sending in your thoughts, which is always great because it kind of adds an extra voice to what we talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Our next bit of feedback comes from another listener, Annalise.
Hey guys, it's Annalise here. Just wanting to congratulate you on your 100th episode. And if I was to pick my favorite Bullockism of the whole show, the one that comes to my mind is when he and Ed are talking about the electrocutioner. And he tells Ed, "No, Mom, I'm not going to wear my rubbers." Anyway, have a good celebration, and I look forward to hearing the episode. I unfortunately wasn't able to send in my feedback because I was kind of busy this weekend with volunteering at a con, but I know you guys will have a great episode nevertheless. Bye.
Thank you so much, Annalise. And again, another great bit of thanks, actually. It's really nice of you to say, Annalise. I think I love your Bullockism of the entire series. I do remember that as well. And remember laughing away to it. There's nothing finer than a good Bullockism. But I think as well, it's great to, Annalise, we had met as over at Heroes and Villains fan festival for the first time in person. And a great cosplayer, great costumes. Again, adding just another layer of people's involvement in this great community. So great to hear from you, Annalise. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. Wonderful cosplayer, wonderful person, and thanks so much for sending in this feedback. This is so good to hear from you, definitely. Our next piece of feedback comes in from our friends over at Legends of Gotham, John.
Legends of Gotham.
The former other podcasters who we met right back at the start of Gotham did a couple of crossover podcasts, and they've unfortunately ended their time as podcasters on Gotham. They have finished up, but they did come back out of retirement.
Yes.
Just one last time to say some words for Gotham TV podcast.
Hey, John and Derek, I'm Bill.
And I'm Anne-Marie.
And we wanted to wish you a happy 100th episode. Now, I know we're your bae, you're before anyone else and everything. We haven't been in touch for a while.
That's what bae means?
Yeah, that's what bae means. Yes, she just learned it right now. Congratulations, 100th episode scoop.
Congratulations, guys.
But I know this is kind of like, texting, hey, what are you up to in X after not talking to them forever? But don't worry, we're not trying to get with you. We understand you guys have your own thing going on. We've kind of moved on from Gotham too.
But we love it.
Yeah,
we're just not podcasting.
You're the Gotham podcast really... we'll be listening to this year in season 4. But congratulations again, John and Derek. Peace out.
Thank you so much, Bill and Anne-Marie. Peace out indeed. It really, really is fantastic knowing you. I mean, your roundtables that we joined you on were really great fun, and a hoot to be on. I think we were always sort of up at around midnight about to kick off, and then the coffee had to kick in.
Yes.
Otherwise we faded fast, but I think we always kind of made it through. But yeah, I certainly remember one of those early roundtables, where we had Victoria Cartagena and Andrew Stewart Jones on from the first half of season 1, doing a quiz, and it was hilarious. You can
still find that up on YouTube. Go check that one out as well. And yes, we are still your bays. Always will
Absolutely,
be.
Definitely.
For anyone else. When
I think
you guys
I've just realised what that means as well.
There you go.
I'm with you, Anne-Marie.
So John is the
I'm on a learning curve.
John is the Anne-Marie of Gotham TV podcast. I guess that makes me the Bill.
It does.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
And we have another special bit of feedback from someone who we met in episode 11 of Gotham TV podcast. The founder of Gotham Addicts, Candice Kelly.
Hey, John and Derek, aka Gotham TV podcast. This is Candice calling from Gotham Addicts, and I just wanted to give you a big congratulations on your 100th podcast. I know it's going to be awesome because you guys rock. See ya.
Thank you so much, Candice, for all the feedback there that you gave. It's really nice to hear you again. And of course, the Gotham Addicts are such a big force in the Gotham world.
Huge group.
A huge group there on Facebook doing quiz nights, events, discussions, comments, really good. And it's great to hear you, and hear from you, for our 100th, anniversary. Thank you.
Absolutely. Not sure it's our 100th anniversary yet. That's going to be quite a while away, I'd say. We'll probably be dead by 100th anniversary of our first episode, but 100 episodes, definitely.
100 episodes, yeah.
Yeah, and we are proud to be Gotham Addicts and have been proud to be since right back at the beginning. So thanks so much for that, Candice. Always good to hear from you. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, talk to you again soon.
I think we have one more bit of feedback coming in from a new contributor.
Yes.
Who you may well know from season 3 of Gotham.
I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, it's very cool.
She has done a great job in her new and older role.
That's true. Yes, Maggie Giha, very, very nice of you to send us in a message for our 100th episode as well.
Hey, this is Maggie Gia, otherwise known as Poison Ivy. You're listening to Gotham TV Podcast, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
What a star. Thank you so much, Maggie.
Yeah, thank you, Maggie. That's really, really kind of you to send in a message there. It means so much that we have been able, I think, and lucky enough to connect with the cast members just as much as with the listeners. And it's been a great experience. And so, long may it continue. Thank you, Maggie, for those kind words. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Pleasure, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's time to get on to the episode, John. But one other thing, which is really cool, we are on episode 21 of season 3 of Gotham. That's what we're going to be reviewing on this episode, Destiny Calling. The reason we're doing that is because RT in Ireland have split the episodes. They released episode 21 this week. Episode 22, the finale, will be out next week. It is also all available on Blu-ray and DVD at the moment, in any good or evil shop, I suppose, or website. You can go and order it for a physical copy of it now. And it's available on Netflix as of September 1st as well, so you can binge all the way through the episodes.
Absolutely. That's where you can find the Blu-ray or DVD. As you say, Netflix will be shortly showing it, but of course you can listen to us discussing all these things over at gothamtvpodcast.com/iTunes for Apple Podcasts or any evil or good podcast catcher. Just search Gotham TV Podcast and subscribe to us, share the love, leave a review, tell others. Please come and join us for the continuation of this journey. Absolutely. So, Derek, what are some of the case notes for this spoiler-filled review of Destiny Calling, episode 21 of season 3?
Well, this episode was written by Nathan Hope. He's done 3 episodes of Gotham so far. Destiny Calling, which is this one, obviously. Follow the White Rabbit, which featured our favourite journalist, Jervis Tetch.
Yes.
And also Red Hood. He did that.
Yes, I loved that one.
Yeah, it was a really good episode.
Really bringing in that Joker canon into Gotham here. You know, is it the Joker or isn't it? It's the early stages, the early years of the Joker, but really good to see, definitely.
Absolutely. And this episode was written by Danny Cannon, our fearless leader. Really good to have him writing an episode. Really love when he does this. We have, obviously, the first half of the finale, effectively, is on now. So when it's written by Danny Cannon, you always know it's going to be good, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And John, do you want to tell us what they gave us with your synopsis for the episode?
Sure. Gotham City is in turmoil, and so is Jim Gordon. As the Tetch virus rages in the people of Gotham, so too it rages through Jim Gordon's veins as he desperately tries to control his deepest, darkest obsession. Harvey Bullock still has faith in his partner, however, and at the GCPD he keeps him investigating as they, along with Alfred, try to discover more from Bruce Wayne about the Court of Owls and the Shaman. However, there is hope as word of an antidote designed by Professor Strange based on Jervis Tetch's own blood reaches them. Several competing factions, Fish and Penguin, Nigma and Barbara, Gordon and Bullock, and a new shadowy organisation race to capture Strange and his vials of the antidote. As the different groups confront one another, Fish is killed by Jim in front of Oswald and the antidote vials are smashed. Now their only hope is to secure Tetch at Arkham Asylum, but he is snatched up by Butch, Tabitha and Barbara as the Riddler tries to once again kill Oswald. During the riots, Bruce manages to escape his cell at the GCPD and sets out to find the Demon's Head, followed by Alfred. Bruce finally finds the building to discover the League of Shadows guarding the Lazarus Pit, with a man waiting for him who introduces himself as the Demon's Head, Ra's al Ghul. Alfred attempts to rescue a resistant Bruce, but is captured, giving Raz the opportunity to allow Bruce to prove his worth by killing Alfred. Alfred's pleas to Bruce are met with the sharp end of a sword.
Ooh, a big moment at the end of this episode, definitely. But even though they worked really hard to get it right on Gotham, John, you still got the name wrong.
I was going to say it's Raish, I know. Raz, Raish.
Always been Raish.
Always been Raish.
It was only Christopher Nolan that brought in Ra's al Ghul.
But I've always called him Raz.
I always have. I think it's time to get into our top 5 notes for the episode. Bruce being reunited with Alfred in prison is our first big note of the episode. This was heartbreaking as Alfred gets to sit opposite to his young charge after finally tracking him down and finds out that he is fully and totally converted to the shaman's ways.
Definitely, like, there wasn't even a wink, nudge, nudge from Bruce to kind of say, I'm acting here. This is all a ploy. He was truly under the influence of the shaman's techniques and his mind control. And I thought that made this a really, really great scene between Bruce and Alfred in the prison, because their relationship is so good. There's been so many good scenes before this episode. And so it really hits home even harder because you have Alfred, really trying to tell him his old history, what he should know, what he should remember, and what he should care about. And Bruce really is kind of pretty resistant to all this. And that just makes it even more heartbreaking, really. And I think that is so much down to not only Sean Pertwee and David Mazouz, who obviously do a great job, but it's also that on-screen job of making these two characters so invested in by the audience. Like, it really is a class act of Gotham, this bit. And I thought it made it really... just really the more meaningful, even Alfred pressing Harvey and Jim that, this is Bruce. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's a good lad kind of thing. Really kind of salt of the earth, down to earth from Alfred as to why, they need to give him a chance and really try and learn who and what has done this. Now, at this moment in time, all they are aware of is the Court of Owls, not this kind of new ninja-laden, shadowy organization that we see later on in the episode. So,
Yeah.
like, really a great kind of almost, again, a stage play scene of them in this interrogation interview room in the GCPD precinct. I absolutely love this kind of scene because it can be so intimate and personal. And I always find that the writers really seem to make such a difference because they're constrained by the environment and it really comes down to the dialogue.
Absolutely.
Certainly in such a simple scene, so a great scene for me.
Always with Sean Pertwee and David Mazouz together on screen, they've always had a really strong ability to work so well together and play so well off each other. They do have to work really hard on Gotham with scenes like this where there's big moments going on in Bruce's life. Trying to involve the other characters it makes it a bit more difficult because the more the other characters know about him, our characters outside of Alfred, the more they know about him, the more it kind of bleeds into, well, how could Jim know about this when it's the young Batman? He would have been able to put two and two together years ago if he knew that Bruce was dealing with the demon's head or something like that. So they worked really hard in this episode in a number of times to make sure that, Jim and Harvey were helpful. They're still police officers. They know who Bruce is, yet they're not the ones tracking him down. And in fact, there is a point when Alfred goes it alone to go into the Demon's Head's building and make sure that everybody else is away effectively. So whatever goes on inside there will stay between Alfred and Bruce.
Yeah.
Maybe just Bruce alone after the end of this episode, though.
Well, absolutely. Yes. Does that mean we go on to our second note?
Definitely.
Maybe? Yes.
Yes. There's a cure.
There is.
And Ted has it in his blood. We had a bit of a moment last episode on episode 20 where I had said there will definitely be a cure for Jim Gordon and for Leslie Tompkins, and you were kind of surprised, didn't really want that to happen that quickly, I think,
Yes.
was where you were.
I was enjoying the chaos of the train rolling past on fire, and Like,
I didn't know we were going there. I thought if we were going to the opening of the episode, which is the best opening
it is
of
super.
Gotham so far, as the old woman comes into the bank saying she wants her money back, takes out her gun, shoots at the cashier, and then they go outside and the fiery train rolls past. My favourite moment of that scene is the young Girl Scouts chasing down a police officer going, buy our cookies. Fantastic.
Absolutely. The madness of the opening was fantastic, with the old lady obsessed with her savings account, the Girl Scouts and the cookies, the train on fire, in flames, rolling on along the High Line, or in Gotham, I should say.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And I think actually, you really got a sense of Gotham in chaos here, and even the Riddler can't help but recognize the beauty of it all, and the Court of Owls really put on a good show. Like, it was superb. But I have to say, in the end, I stand corrected, as probably I always am. The fact that it came from Professor Strange and that he was developing it, okay, I could get on board with that.
Yes,
completely. If it had come from Lucius Fox, I would have been. They went there. They did that. Right. I wouldn't have wanted that to happen.
I do like that Harry references in a line and says, "You have the cure, don't you, Lucius?" And he says, "No. I know that Professor Strange was working on it, and that's a direction for you as to where you might be able to find it, but I don't have the cure myself."
And I think that it made it more believable.
Yes.
And because, again, Professor Strange, played by B.D. Wong, has really been put across in Gotham as someone who will play both sides, cover his back, and think of all eventualities and make sure he is ready for them. So it made sense to me, and the fact that it came from Jervis Tetch's blood, I think that was pretty sweet. Actually, I really enjoyed that. I did think that the force is strong in this family, that the connection between Jervis and Alice's bloody innards and what's coursing through their veins. I like the fact that there were probably either two sides of the same coin, or whether it's the same and Strange has managed to isolate something within the blood. But yeah,
it's one of those things. Maybe the Tetch family blood is what makes it more powerful, or makes it better. When you're trying to synthesize it, you do need that to keep it at bay, I suppose.
Definitely.
Because Alice wasn't mad. Alice had the virus inside of her and passed it on to other people. She wasn't crazy herself.
No, absolutely.
Unlike Jervis Tetch.
Jervis Tetch. But yes.
But it does lead to our third point.
Absolutely.
Once you have the antidote on the table, you have this really interesting rat race to go and find it, where a bunch of people in the city are now looking for it for different reasons.
Definitely. This was like, I loved it. It was like Wacky Races to me. I was expecting Penelope Pitstop to pop up at some point, because it was just the fact that literally everyone was trying to find this antidote. Mm-hmm. They were all trying to find Professor Strange to begin with. And who gets there first but Fish? Who swiped him beforehand in The Witch Must Burn, I think, that episode at the start of this season. So she's on fine form here, making sure she gets ahead of the curve, really.
Absolutely. It's just a great moment when she bumps into Strange at the train station. He's just, oh no. He realizes how screwed he is when Fish gets in contact with him.
And I think it was just all these different people, organizations after Professor Strange, and it leads to some really nice little face-offs. Like, we have the face-off between Fish in at the train station, and she calls upon Dr. Fries,
yes,
and as well Firefly to stop Jim, who has another one of his turns. I actually do feel sorry for Jim here, trying to control the virus in his blood, because and poor Harvey. I have to say, Harvey Bullock in this episode was fantastic as well, because you literally didn't know what Jim was going to do because he was alternating between veiny Jim and non-veiny Jim. Like the moment where Jim rips off the car door where they're trying to get back on track after Professor Strange was
hilarious.
Really, really good.
Absolutely good.
But of course,
especially with Hart going, no, I'm going to drive. You sit in the other seat and you just ripped the door off.
Like, and I think like that was they were the two main kind of factions, the GCPD one and the Fish one, that were going after it. But you did have Barbara and the Riddler really trying to get their hands on this antidote. Once the Riddler had surmised that there was one out there and it was going to be Professor Strange, after Barbara really was trying to get hold of it so she could maintain her position as the king or the queen pin of Gotham. I mean, she almost had a little bit of a hissy fit actually at the Riddler because his mind was still on, I must get Oswald. I must kill him. Whereas Barbara was, I really want you to help me, and this means that we can control Gotham if we have the antidote, ultimately.
Yeah, and she does have a point. She does effectively, she's saying to him, this is the best opportunity I possibly have to take over the city. No matter whether you kill Oswald or not, I'm never going to get a better opportunity, so you have to help me out in this, which I really liked.
Yeah,
I liked that they were teaming up for that reason. It was quite cool.
But then we also have the fourth grouping here, which is the ninjas that pop up. And I suppose this leads us onto our fourth case note, because we then have another great confrontation in this big warehouse where all the ninjas come out to play. Yes, so long and thank you for the fish, because this confrontation gets tragic. It gets emotional.
It certainly does.
And it gets knifey. And we have actually, it mirrors what comes later, where we have Fish run through with a sword, with one of the katanas of the ninja. But this time, it's from a veiny Jim.
Yes, it's very sad that we are losing Fish Mooney here.
Yeah, I mean,
just back.
I just really think her screen presence, her swagger, is fantastic in this, and I really wish that after her disappearance from the second episode for that long time, I wish there had been something in that intervening time that was a bit more fleshed out, because she's popped back and reconnected with Oswald, saving him from the Riddler previously, and I just want to see her on screen more, and so it was an emotional goodbye and RIP for Fish, I think, here.
Definitely. Really, really good to see her back on here. I guess those bits are possibly going to be covered in future tie-in books, or maybe some flashbacks in future to keep her alive. But it was a shocking kind of way for the character of Fish to go. It was the last time she went, it was at the hands of Oswald pushing her off a building to claim he was now king of Gotham. This time to be struck by mistake, effectively by Jim. He wouldn't have killed her if he wasn't under the influence of the touch virus.
Yeah, and I think he thought she was a ninja, but it was kind of almost by reflex.
Yeah.
But for me, the most interesting thing is that Oswald's old friend may not be his old friend for much longer. No. I think the fact that Oswald was a really great bookend to the Fish character in this world of Gotham, and the fact that he saw him like Jim kill her. I suspect their friendship it will be strained at best, if non-existent at worst.
Yeah.
And Oswald will devote quite a bit of time to trying to make Jim pay for this, to be honest.
Very, very likely. Sad to see Fish go. Unfortunately, she's not going to be around any longer. Can we go on to the last point?
I think we
Going on
can.
to point 5, because this is quite a big moment, really.
This is
Bringing in-
massive.
Yeah, so it's effectively the
There are
demons.
so many Easter eggs in that Lazarus pit popping out.
But that's kind of one of them in the first place.
It certainly is.
The demon's head is Ra's al Ghul, is our final point. We finally see Ra's al Ghul in the show. This is kind of a very big moment. So the first element of it is, as John mentioned, there is the Lazarus pit lying in wait as Bruce arrives. You can tell by that glowing light in there. This is how Ra's al Ghul has maintained his life over many, many centuries, effectively. In comic books, he continually goes and regenerates himself within a Lazarus pit. Hinting possibly for the future of some of the characters for this episode. There's a possibility of what may happen for them here. But just seeing it in there was really cool. The fact that we have him called the Demon's Head like he is in the comics, the fact that he's called Ra's al Ghul correctly in the show. They're doing a good job with this character.
Unlike myself. Raz was great. I loved Raz. Raish. You have the ninjas, the League of Shadows, you have the mystical oriental sort of influences here, which I think are really good, but not even just necessarily Asian, but even sort of Persian, Indian, all this kind of really exotic feel to it, really mystical, otherworldly to an extent, certainly compared to Gotham, and really very cool to see these coming to fruition in Gotham, and it really is, very close to the canon of it all in terms of the things that they're showing here.
Yes, and just one of the things, I suppose, is that I know Bruce goes off for a few years to travel around the world to get training. That story's changed a few times as to how he got the training. One of the elements of it is that he does meet Ra's al Ghul, who trains him to be a member of the League of Assassins or the League of Shadows, depending on which storyline you're following. But it was never that Ra's came to Gotham and met Bruce and picked him up or anything like that. But it's great to see these two characters kind of meeting now in this, as we've been calling it, the kind of this alternate universe version of Bruce and this alternate universe version of Gotham, where the villains are coming out. It's great to see the two characters meet in the show at this stage.
Definitely, and Ra's here, talks about his longevity, that he's an old man, he's wise, and that Bruce is really his successor, or he sees Bruce as his successor. There's something about Bruce, the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he holds his swagger, no doubt. That's the second time I've used that word. But really that, Ra's has really spotted Bruce as being the person that can take over from him as the head of the League of Shadows, and do and carry out their work in maintaining order. So this is really, this has a lot of possibilities moving forward, which is absolutely cool. But Alfred gets in the way here, and Ra's takes the opportunity after Alfred's been captured to allow Bruce to prove his loyalty and his worth to the League of Shadows by killing Alfred. And much in the same way as Fish, he gets a sword through him.
Yes, absolutely.
Alfred has been stabbed once again. No doubt will end up in hospital if he survives the wound, because that looked pretty gruesome, pretty brutal.
It really did.
And I wonder if that expression on Bruce at the end was him almost being jolted out of the mind control by the fact of him doing that, and just the expression on Alfred's face.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there might be a clue in the fact that they're right beside the Lazarus pit. But would Bruce have
clue? Yeah.
But would Bruce have known that that's what it was going to do? I don't think so. He had that moment of realization, I think, after he stabbed Alfred. That is, as you say, what jolted him out of his control, I suppose.
Yeah.
So he didn't know that this would have been a way to save him. So perhaps Ra's will do a good deed for our Bruce. Ra's is an interesting character in the books. He's kind of got a belief system that he believes is the right way to do things, and tries to convince other people of the right way to do things the way he does them. So it wouldn't necessarily see an innocent die for no reason. He's kind of okay with cities burning and cities falling because
he's a nice guy like that.
No, because in his mind, it's the city is not innocent, I suppose. Whereas Alfred, the butler of Bruce, not sure whether he'll see them as an innocent or a threat or not. So we will see on next week's episode.
He's a threat to his relationship with Bruce. That's where the threat lies. Definitely.
Yeah. John, you had an interesting suggestion about the Lazarus Pit.
Yes. In episode 2 of season 1, there was a green glow that came from the sort of the manhole cover or the drain cover, connected. I can't remember the name of the pharmaceutical company now.
Yes.
But it had a big G, green G. And I was convinced that it was Killer Croc down there, or it was the goo that was going to form Killer Croc down in the pit, because I say pit, but that's where they put the children, and I thought they were feeding the kids to Killer Croc.
Yes.
But obviously then we got the doll maker, and it came to pass that it wasn't Killer Croc, unfortunately. But now I was wondering, is that green glow for episode 2, season 1, could that have been the Lazarus Pit?
Never know.
It is Ra's al Ghul's tendrils that have gone through into the Court of Owls. Has it gone through into a number of different organisations or companies in Gotham? Because obviously there was the pharmaceutical, but there was also the global shipping kind of transport company that all led ultimately, I think, in season 2 to the Dollmaker,
Yes.
Dr. Dollmaker.
Very interesting, yeah. We're
I
definitely checking
wondered
into
if
that.
it was that. It probably isn't, but it's a nice little crazy little bit of speculation.
A nice way to close it out on our top 5, definitely. Bullockisms of the week. You know, we've been having our Bullock competition now for quite a while, for all of this season, so all 22 episodes of this season. So we've chosen one Bullockism of the week. There were many in this episode.
Yeah.
Really just like him saying to Jim, just don't shoot any innocent bystanders or me. Especially me, just after he gives Jim his gun back. Great little moment from Bullock.
Absolutely, always looking out for number 1, Harvey Bullock, but not his liver.
Absolutely. Our Bullockism of the Week competition will end on episode 22 of our show. We'll be pulling out a winner for our prize pack. As we mentioned on last week's episode, that will include the Blu-ray of Gotham Season 3, so you can rewatch all of the episodes of Gotham on Season 3. It will also include Harvey Bullock vinyl pop, plus the base cards for Gotham Season 1 trading cards. But you may have to wait for those, because our Harvey Bullock has gone on a little bit of a world trip. He is travelling at the moment. He'll be with us. Our Harvey Bullock Pop will be with us by October. So the winner of the prize will have to wait a little bit of time, but we promise we'll get it to you.
Yes, we will.
In time. Early October, once we announce the winner.
Yeah, and of course, I would give this 4.5 Lazarus Pits out of 5.
Yes. Good
For me,
episode.
I thought the introduction of Ra's al Ghul, aka Ra's al Ghul, was it was a great bit of comic legend canon coming and being introduced, and certainly, obviously, the ending with Bruce thrusting the sword through Alfred was fantastic. Certainly, given the interview and the attempt by Alfred to try and get Bruce to come back.
Yeah.
From wherever the shaman sends him within his head, it really added a depth to that emotional sort of fracture of Bruce running his friend, his guardian, his butler, Alfred through with the sword. I think as well, Fish has been there from the start. I've absolutely loved her as a character. She has so much presence, and it was fitting to see Oswald as she slipped off into the next life. It was great having Oswald there at that moment.
Absolutely.
And I think all this, the antidote, the rage, and the whole rat race aspect of it, I thought it was a really good episode of Gotham. And yeah, such a good episode, this one, for sure. I think one of the strong ones of this season, just what they managed to get into this episode.
I have to say the balance in this episode was really interesting for me, because it started out with me crying, laughing at a train on fire and Girl Scouts chasing down a police officer, to the end with Alfred getting run through with a sword. And it's a huge kind of balancing act to get a show like that right. Gotham gets it right on many, many occasions, and it's done so again in this episode. That's really cool.
Yeah. So on to some feedback from some of our listeners. And of course, just to remind everyone, you can send in feedback by email. Just go to feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com. You can leave a voicemail of up to 90 seconds long. Just go to gothamtvpodcast.com and click on the right-hand side tab to leave your voicemail. Or you can join us over on the Gotham TV Podcast Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com/groups/Gotham TV Podcast.
Well done. Well remembered, John. Our first piece of feedback comes from Monica Jones, all the way from the US. She says, I'm here by the way of Legends of Gotham. When they were shutting down at the end of the season, they told us all about you guys and what else could make Gotham better than 2 Irish accents. I rewatched the episode as a refresher to share my thoughts and not get too far ahead of myself. There's one twist in particular I'm excited for you to get to next week, and that's all I'll say about that. The 2 Harvey Bullock lines that stuck out to me were, yes, I'm blaming it on the butler, and just don't shoot any bystanders. So same as ourselves. Thoughts about the episode while watching. Says Monica, we see Ed and Barbara wearing the same colours, which confused me, but I think it's to highlight that they aren't a team. Bruce is breaking my heart tearing into Alfred in that interrogation room. Why did Jim and Harvey just stand around behind the ice wall like they can't go back the way they came? That's a really good point, Monica.
Absolutely.
Says Gotham's SWAT are really easy to dodge. Bruce doesn't even fully hide behind the wall. He leaves his shoulders sticking out.
Oh no.
Love that in Gotham.
Strike Force has really gone downhill, I think, since Captain Barnes went AWOL.
And since most of them got killed, I suppose.
Yes.
Yes, I guess most of the Strike Force...
But Strike Force came back later on this season, or at least the name.
Yeah. The name did, yes, but a lot of the elite cadets that were picked for it unfortunately were lost. So you get less and less elite cadets these days, unfortunately. And Monica finishes with, and the final scene ripped my heart out and stomp on it. Luckily, where there's a Ra's al Ghul pool, there's hope. Oh, nice. Ra's al Ghul pool.
Yeah.
Like it.
Or Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul. You see, now I'm doing it. Thanks, John. Monica says, looking forward to your thoughts on this week's episode. Thanks so much for your feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Monica, for the feedback. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thanks for coming over from Legends of Gotham. They will always be our friends. We'll always have them on board. If ever they want to sit down for a while and have a chat about a Gotham episode, we'll always have them with us.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Our next piece of feedback comes in from Claire on voicemail.
So much to talk about in this episode. I love the opening of this episode with the crazy lady in the bank and the train thundering through Gotham on fire. Fish intercepting Hugo Strange at the train station was a great moment, especially as he was desperate to leave Gotham. Fish's plan to gain control of the antidote is a perfect way for her to get back control of Gotham. The way Jim controls the virus within him is great, and he knows the more he uses the strength of it, the more it will gain control of him. I really like the way Harvey also helps Jim and reminds him to be careful. Of course, Strange and Fish enjoy the moment seeing Jim infected. One of my favourite moments of this episode is Oswald getting revenge back on Professor Strange. We learn how it felt to be tortured while Oswald was in Arkham, even though Hugo calls it therapy. I love how Oswald reminds Strange what he did also to his children, and with Hugo refusing to give the whereabouts of the antidote, he very confidently asks, "Are you going to torture me?" And Penguin answers very enthusiastically, "Okay." Of course, naturally Oswald had to have the same torture device which he uses on Strange, even though he agreed to tell Oswald and Fish where his supply of antidote is. B.D. Wong and Robin Lord Taylor are so good together in this scene. actually every scene they have ever done together. Ra's al Ghul is certainly a demon not to be messed with. I don't know a lot about this character, so it'll be interesting to see how he will control brainwash Bruce. Horrific scene of Bruce putting a sword through Alfred's sternum makes Bruce snap out of his brainwashed world and realizing he may have just killed the one person who loves him. Lee turning up at the sirens and taking out Butch was also a fun moment, especially as Lee wants to rip off Barbara's head. I think it's going to be an incredibly interesting finale to season 3. Many thanks, Claire.
Thanks so much for the feedback, Claire. That's really good, interesting insight in there. We forgot to talk about Oswald and Fish working together to get the information out of Professor Strange. That little moment where we have a little kind of flashback to Oswald getting abused or getting tortured by Professor Strange, where he has the opportunity to take that piece of equipment and finally get his revenge.
Absolutely, very cool. And you got those really cool effects as well as he fires up the machine to extract his revenge and some information from Professor Strange, even though, I think the information is secondary for Oswald. He just wants to make Professor Strange pay.
Yes, definitely.
But I wonder, will this make Professor Strange more unhinged? Okay, he's unhinged. Sorry, or not that even that he's unhinged. It's that, he plays both sides. He will sell his experience, his expertise and knowledge to the highest bidder and always make sure that he's covered. That's smart, and that's kind of almost like a regular criminal.
Yeah.
But will this machine turn him into more of the kind of mad scientist aspect that you can get from Professor Strange as well?
Possibly, yeah.
Will it leave a lasting impression on him and really push him more towards the evil side of the spectrum of Batman and Gotham villains, It'd be interesting to see if there's any consequence for this.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. And Professor Strange is one of my favorite characters, and seeing him with Oswald Cobblepot is always really interesting. As you say, Claire, having B.D. Wong and Robin Lord Taylor on stage together, on screen together, is always interesting. Thanks so much for that feedback. It's really, really cool.
Thank you so much, Claire.
And you are right. It's going to be a fascinating finale next week. Really looking forward to it. Thanks.
I cannot wait for that.
Absolutely. Thanks for all the feedback. As John said, all you need to do is email us over at feedback@gothamtvpodcast.com, or you can do exactly what the guys who contributed to this episode for a voicemail. You can do exactly what they did. You can go to our website at gothamtvpodcast.com, click on the send voicemail button, and you get up to 90 seconds to leave your thoughts. We always love hearing from you. Send in your thoughts for the finale next week. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
One final piece, since it's our 100th episode. We did have an interview that went up on dcworld.org this week, conducted by Claire, which went up. It was a really fun interview.
Yeah.
And we wanted to leave you with a little bit of that. Since we're podcasters, we obviously recorded the interview. We have cleared it with Claire, but here is about 2 or 3 minutes of the interview that we did. Claire conscientiously turned it into a really interesting article, but you're going to get the slightly less interesting version. But it is us talking. This is when Claire asked us which of us is the driving force behind the podcast and which kind of kicked us off to begin with.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, I'm probably the podcast listener of the two of us at the time. Anyway, I'd started out listening to a podcast called The Walking Dead Cast, which is based around obviously Walking Dead, another one of my favorite comic books. And after listening to it for about 2 years, I was kind of going, these guys, the people who are doing it, Jason and Karen, who are the podcasters, are really easy chatting. They're really easy to chat about stuff.
Definitely.
And you can tell they have a relationship where they're both kind of geeky about certain things, and they can have a discussion and argue with each other and fight and find a balance between them on a podcast. So after listening for 2 years, I was kind of going, I like to talk. I'm a bit nerdy. John likes to talk a lot. And he's a bit nerdy.
I like to ramble, probably.
I was like, we could do this. Let's find an opportunity. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. came along, the TV show, in 2013.
Yeah.
And we had talked for 2.5 months before that show aired about whether we would podcast about it, and hadn't done anything at all and missed the opportunity. So what I decided was the next opportunity we have for a comic book related property coming up, we're going to jump on board and we're going to start our podcast before anybody else gets word of this. And then the perfect opportunity came up. So 2013 was the year that The Dark Knight Rises was released, right? And the following February is when a proper confirmation that we were getting Gotham was happening. So February 2014, we released our first podcast on the 3rd of March 2014. So 1 month after the announcement of Gotham, Ben McKenzie was the only member of the cast that had been cast at that stage. As John said, we followed him on Twitter immediately, saw his first post about saying he's been cast in Gotham with a list of comic books that he was interested in, and that kicked us off for 7 months worth of podcasting in preparation for a show we didn't see one moment of until 5 months into the podcast, I think. 4 months into the podcast.
But which also probably got us the entry via Warner Brothers into New York Comic Con. Ultimately, because we were probably, along with Gotham Addicts as a fan page at the time, were sort of the two kind of initial kind of fan stuff that had started. But yeah, I mean, for me, in terms of podcasting, I came to podcasting effectively through Derek. And yeah, I mean, certainly he was the driver on Gotham, but I was also then got very keen and so on. I always liked kind of doing the images and stuff. Doing that kind of
better creative person.
The images and of course, obviously talking. I mean, the editing is a complete nightmare. Although I have to put my hands up, like with me and editing, I like just dropped off and off and off. Hence why Derek ultimately is, also primarily the producer, I suppose now. On that, and I keep saying to him, I need to come back in, and then
doesn't really want to.
It doesn't really pan out that way, but I do definitely need to. But I love the process of podcasting. I kind of really got on board with it. I mean, to the extent that I did do that. Unfortunately, I was late to it, and again, it was another learning exercise. But like with Hannibal season 3, unfortunately missed the first 2 seasons, and again, you kind of have to be there at the time, really. But there's a lot of other ideas that I have for wanting to do other podcasts. Yeah. But of course, with just 2 of us, and the same with Derek as well. But with just the 2 of us, yeah, I suppose it's just time. It's balancing and juggling all the time and other commitments, family, work, friends.
We also want to make sure that if we're podcasting, we're making the best show we possibly can. Between the 2 of us or between the 3 of us, when we have our 3rd or even 4th podcast host around, we always want to make sure that we deliver something that we would listen to. Is probably that's probably my guide. You make decisions over time based on that, whether it's to cut the show from a 2-hour weekly podcast to a 40-minute tight conversation where you get out all your points in, which is one of the decisions we've definitely made over the time. And then there's other times when you go, well, look, it's a big event. Let's have a full 3-hour full-blown conversation because it's the right thing to do for that particular thing that we probably will never talk about again. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think we both love to podcast, but certainly I think Derek had the germ of the idea. He got me more into podcasting, sort of, and certainly listening to them. He was the driving force there. Apparently, I'm the on-screen talent.
That's right. And thanks so much for the interview on DC World. Really good of them to publish that in time for our 100th episode.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone over at DC World, and in particular, Claire. Thank you for a great conversation and chit-chat. And I suppose ultimately interview with us. It was really relaxed. And We certainly gave you a lot of material. We know how to talk.
It was over 2 hours, so condensing that into an interesting interview. Well done. Good job. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back next week for the season finale of Gotham Season 3, Episode 22.
Absolutely. Remember, subscribe to Gotham TV Podcast. Leave a review. Share the love. And yeah. It has, as always, been great speaking with you, and we will speak again with you next time.
Yes, for 101.
Yeah, 101. Gotham TV Podcast 101, which is the DC World interview.
Yes.
Okay, thanks everyone for listening. Thank you so much, and we'll speak with you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for being a Butch supporter. Butch loves you, baby.